الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله وبعد. We begin by praising Allah. We praise Him, we seek His help, and we ask for His forgiveness. And we take refuge with Allah from the evil of ourselves and from the evil consequence of our evil actions. Whomsoever Allah guides, no one can misguide, and whomsoever Allah leaves to go astray, no one can guide. And I testify that Allah alone is worthy of worship, and that Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is His servant and His messenger. My dear brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's a real pleasure to be here today with you in Glasgow. What I want to talk about is the Dawah of the prophets, the call of the messengers. But I want us to think really about the importance of Dawah. What status does calling people to Islam have in the religion? It's very important for us to know that. It's very important for us to understand what is the status. How important is it for us as Muslims to call people who are not yet Muslim to Islam? So I want to start by asking you, my dear brothers, a few questions. Do we all agree that the best of all the human beings are the prophets? Does everyone agree with that? Yes, good. And do we all agree that the Quran, which is the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Quran is a book of guidance? We all agree the Quran is a book of guidance. Of course, Alif Lam Mim, ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. Alif Lam Mim, this is the book, لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ, without doubt. In it is guidance, هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ, guidance for the people who fear Allah, the upright people. So it's a book of guidance. Why do you think Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us in the Quran the stories of the prophets, the Qisas al-Anbiya? In the Quran we find the stories of the prophets. Are not those stories of the prophets there to guide us? Yes or no? To motivate us? Yes or no? Yeah. So the Quran is a book of guidance. The prophets are the best of all people. They are the best examples for us to follow. Yes or no? Yes. Okay. So mashallah, I'm just very glad we all agreed with that. Okay? Now let me ask you another question. Imagine you are a non-Muslim for a second. You are a non-Muslim looking at the Muslim community from the outside. And what you have to do as a non-Muslim, you have to look at the Muslims and guess what the most important teachings in the book of the Muslims is from the habits and the behavior of the Muslims. Yeah, you get what I'm trying. You're looking at the Muslims as a non-Muslim, and you're looking at them and you're thinking, okay, I wonder what their book is about. I wonder what their religion is about. What does that Quran teach them? Let me look at them and see. I tell you what they'll say. There must be a lot in the Quran about halal meat. In fact, maybe 50 or 60% of the Quran is about halal meat. Yeah? Probably. That's what they think. Something very profound, my dear brothers and sisters. I want to challenge you. Any one of you here today to explain to me and detail for me the salah of Nuh from the Quran. Can anyone tell me about the salah of Nuh from the Quran? Anyone? Anyone? Can you? Sheikh? The salah of Nuh. Can you describe it to me? How often he prayed? How much he prayed? The evening and the night. Yeah. But the details of it, how it was? His tahajjud. How long was the tahajjud of Nuh? How much did he used to pray in the night? Tahajjud.
From the Isha to the Fajr.
His tahajjud from the Quran?
No.
You don't know? We don't know, do we? How long was his beard? We don't know. How about his sadaqah? We don't know. How about his zuhud? We don't know. How about his looking after the orphans and his social welfare program and his soup kitchens and anything like that? We know for nothing. They're all good things, yes? We can't deny these are all fantastic things. But Nuh alayhi salam, he's one of the the prophets of strength. Yeah, the five. Ibrahim, Nuh alayhi salam, Ibrahim alayhi salam, Musa, Isa, Muhammad. Sallallahu alayhi wasallam. The five great prophets. So from Nuh alayhi salam, in the Quran, you've all agreed that the prophets are the best of people. You've all agreed that the Quran is a book of huda, guidance. You've all agreed that these stories are to inspire and motivate us. Okay. But we don't find anything. We know Nuh made salah, we know. But how was it? How much was it? How long was it? We don't know. His sadaqah, we don't know. His tahajjud, we don't know. His zuhud, we don't know. His beard, we don't know. But if I describe to you, brothers, mashallah, there is a brother, he comes to the masjid 5 times a day, he gives lots of sadaqah, he prays tahajjud all night. I think you say, mashallah, he's pious, brother. He's very pious, very holy brother, mashallah. Yet, if we look at Nuh alayhi salam, the best of the human beings, amongst the best of the human beings with the prophets, we don't have any details from Allah about these things in the Quran. In fact, the only thing we really know about Nuh alayhi salam from the Quran is what? Is what? His dawah. Go and say it, brothers. His what? Dawah. Yeah, don't say it quietly, because I know you only want to murmur it, because I think you're beginning to understand now. Now let's confront the reality of the Quran against the reality of your life. The reality of what Allah is asking us to do, the example, the stories, the inspiration, the huda, the guidance that Allah is giving us in the Quran, and let's compare that with our lives. Because whether you look at Nuh alayhi salam, or whether you look at Ibrahim alayhi salam, or you look at Musa alayhi salam, or any of the prophets, their stories in the Quran, most of the stories in the Quran, most of it, is about their dawah. About how they invited people to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. وَلَقَدْ بَعَثْنَا فِي كُلِّ أُمَّةٍ رَسُولًا أَن نَعْبُدُ اللَّهِ وَاجْتَنِبُوا الطَّاغُوتَ. This is the reason Allah sent messengers. To call the people to single out Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone for worship, and to abandon the worship of at-taghut, all of the false gods. This is the job, the task of the messengers. This is their primary role. Now, I have another question for you. Who is Khatam al-Nabi? Are you sure? Is there any more prophet after Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam? Not Ghulam Mirza Ahmed al-Qadian?
No.
Not Elijah Muhammad?
No.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Alhamdulillah. MashaAllah. Good. That's clear. If Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he is Khatam al-Nabiyyin, he's the seal of the messengers. After him, Allah is not going to send any more prophets. Even when Isa alayhi salam returns, he will not return as a prophet. He will return as a follower of the Sharia of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Yes? Yes. So if there are no more prophets and there are no more messengers, who has the responsibility of performing the task and the duty and the obligation of the messengers to call people to Islam? If there are no more messengers, who do you think has to do that job? Who? Us. Actually, you know, you should really say me. Sometimes people say the ummah. That's the, you know, when someone says the ummah, you can tell there's a person who wants to avoid responsibility. Because the further he can put it away from himself, you know, it's the ummah, it's not me, it's the ummah. No, it's our responsibility, my dear brothers and sisters. Our responsibility to pass on the message. Our responsibility. This is the job of the messengers. This is the task of the prophets. And it has been given to us. The ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. That's you and me. We need to convey the message. We need to pass this message of Islam. We need to call those people who are not worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We need to call them to the worship of Allah. Away from their shirk. Away from their sins. Away from their disbelief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And how is it we are not doing that? What guidance are we getting from the Quran? What do the stories of the prophets mean to us, my brothers? What do the stories of the prophets mean to us, my sisters? If we read these stories, we read these histories, because maybe even story is the wrong word. That's the problem. Maybe the word we use, story, makes us think it's like something we say at the bedtime for the children. Abdur, Abdi, tell me the story of Shaitan and Adam. Tell me the story of Noah. Tell me the story of Musa. And we say, and tell them that it's a bedtime story. Like, once upon a time there was a princess, she lived in a castle. That type of thing. Does it change our life? Does it make us want to behave like that? Does it want, well, inshallah, it should do. But not if we think of them as stories. These are not stories, brothers. I want to tell you a story. Anyway, I want to tell you a story. A story is a fairy story. A story about a king. There was this great, powerful king. He was so great and so powerful. People soon realized there was no way to fight this king. So they would send their ambassadors, they would send their people saying, "Oh great king, we don't want you to invade us. We want to be under your rule. Become our king. We want you to rule us." So, subhanallah. It's like this, you know, when the Muslims, subhanallah, started to fight against the Byzantines. You know, Christians in Syria used to write to the Muslims. They wrote to Umar ibn al-Khattab, asking the Muslims to come and release them from the tyranny of the Byzantines. They said, even though they are Christians like us, they oppress us, and we know that you will do justice. Subhanallah. This is what the non-Muslim knew about the Muslim even then. Justice. They invited them, come, release us from tyranny. establish justice. So this king, he is sent a request. So the king chooses his favorite, his beloved servant, Abdullah. The king says, Abdullah, go to this land and tell the people, I am their king. They must follow my laws and pay taxes to me. So Abdullah travels to this land, but many years pass by. And the king does not hear from Abdullah at all. Nothing. He doesn't hear from him. So he's very worried. So he says to another trusted servant, Ahmed, go and see what has happened to Abdullah. I'm worried about him. We haven't heard from him for many years. Maybe they've killed him, maybe they've been treacherous. So Ahmed travels, and he travels, and eventually he gets to this land, and then he starts to ask the people, have you seen Abdullah? They said, no, we don't know anyone called Abdullah. So he starts to describe Abdullah. He says, Abdullah, he's like this, you know, he's tall and he's got dark skin and, you know, he's got a beard and you know, he wears a long gown and, you know, he starts to, and they say, oh, yes, abs. It's not Abdullah, it's abs. Yeah? Oh yeah, he lives on the outskirts of the city in a nice house. He's got a family and he's a very successful businessman. He's a very nice man. We know him. So Ahmed, he goes. He finds Abdullah. Abdullah, Ahmed says, didn't the king say to you to come to this land and to tell the people that he is their king? They should follow his laws and pay his taxes? Abdullah says, yes, of course. I have never been treacherous to the king. He is the only king I have ever taken. I have always honored the king. You see, I even have the picture of the king here in my house. But I thought I would come here and settle here and spend some time with the people, and you know, they can get to know me and I can get to know them, and you know, they can start a business and a family here, and you know, bit by bit I'll get round to telling them. But Abdullah, it's been 20 years, Abdullah. My question is, brothers and sisters, Abdullah is you. You're Abdullah. The only reason you should be here really is to call the people. Allah is your king. Obey his guidance, follow his messenger. But you made your life very comfortable. You persuaded yourself that, you know, we'll live here and, you know, we'll deal with the people, and, you know, unfortunately, you know, in the meantime, we found a lot of our children have become drug dealers and low-life characters, and they're not even a good example anymore. We used to be a good example 20 years ago. People used to think of Muslims as family-orientated, law-abiding citizens. And this claim that, you know, we're a good example, it's not even there, but we sat quietly. We never passed the message. We fooled ourselves. We'll go back home one day, home. But this is home now. This is home. Don't fool yourself. Don't fool yourself you're going to go back home. This is home. You will die here. You will die here. 90% of you plus will die here in this place, and this is where your children don't even speak Punjabi anymore. They don't even understand. When you stand up and give your bayan and khutbah in Punjabi, the kids don't come because they don't understand what's that language. They don't understand it. This is home. And what have you done? What have you done? spend your time? What's left now? We've closed ourselves off. We've lived in our communities. We didn't come here with the right attitude, brothers. And now we're going to suffer the consequence, because you know the truth is, right? You can't close yourself off. If you're surrounded by evil and wrongdoing, the reaction was, let's keep away from it. We'll close ourselves off. But you know what? Your kids have to walk down the street past a drug dealer. They go past the pub and the nightclub, and they go to the schools where no one cares who has sex with who, astaghfirullah. What do you think? But we didn't have this attitude. We've got Islam. We've got the guidance from Allah. These people need our help. These people need our help. They need this guidance so bad. Look at these poor people, subhanAllah, lost in their misguidance, away from Allah. They're sick and we need to give them medicine. We didn't think like that, and we're suffering now. Because you know what? The sickness is infecting us. And it's a fact. You're going to be one of two types of person. Either you are inviting people to Islam, or you're going to be a person who's being invited to kufr. One or the other. That's it. Either you're an inviter or you're being invited. You're one of the two. And this idea that we can close ourselves away and lock ourselves off, it's not working. It's not working. You can see it around you. So what is the solution? The solution for us is to come back to our deen. The consequence of failing to enjoy what is right and forbid what is wrong is severe. We have been warned about it in the Quran. We have been warned about it on the tongue of the Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. I have another question for you before I finish. I would like to know who in this room loves the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Keep your hands up if you love the Prophet more than your mother, more than your son, more than your daughters, more than your wife, more than your business. Are you sure?
Yes.
More than your business even?
Yes.
More than your own self?
Yes.
Of course. There's no one in this room, because we know that our iman is not complete and perfect until we love the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam more than our mothers and our fathers and our children and our possessions, even ourselves. So this is how the Sahaba were, my brothers. Now the difference is, we put our hand up and we say yes, yes, and maybe hopefully we mean it, but of course Allah tests us with our words. You say you love the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but what's the proof of loving the Prophet? The proof of loving the Prophet is not celebrating his birthday. That's not proof of loving the... Proof of loving the Prophet is not making him equal with Allah. Astaghfirullah. As some people who call themselves Muslims claim that the Prophet ﷺ is everywhere. Astaghfirullah. They claim that he has knowledge of the unseen. He knows everything. Subhanallah. They make dua and believe that he will be an intercessor with them through their du'as. This is, subhanallah, not loving the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. No. Loving the Prophet means making ittiba. It means following his sunnah. Doing what he told us to do. Following his example. This is love. قُلْ إِن كُنْتُمْ تُحِبُّونَ اللَّهَ فَتَبِيُّونِي يَحْبِبْكُمُ اللَّهِ. Say if it is true that you love Allah, O Muhammad, tell them, follow me. يَتَبِيُّونِي, follow me. And then Allah will love you. If you love the Prophet, you will follow his example. Now let me tell you the example of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Let us see if we love Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. After many years of calling the Quraysh and the people of Mecca to Islam, the Prophet ﷺ and his companions suffered many difficulties and hardships. Some of them were tortured, like Bilal, spread out on the hot sand, burning hot coals put on his back so he could smell his flesh cooking. And he did not renounce his religion. Sumayya bin Jash, who was stabbed by Abu Jahl in her stomach, martyred, and she never renounced her religion. So after these years of pure persecution, some of the Muslims, they had to leave to live in Abyssinia. But still the dawah continued. And then one day Allah gave the Prophet ﷺ permission to go to Taif. I'm trying to imagine how the Prophet ﷺ is feeling. Can you imagine? After this years and years of giving dawah and meeting nothing but obstinacy. Worse than that, his followers being tortured and being killed and humiliated. Then Allah gives him permission. You can go to Taif. He must, he must be thinking, the reason Allah is allowing me to go to Taif is because the people of Taif are ready to accept Islam. That's what, I don't know this, but that's what I'm thinking. He must be thinking that Allah is giving me permission now because the people of Taif are ready to accept Islam. So the Prophet ﷺ travels to Taif. And he goes to the leaders of the people. And every one of them refuses to meet. They don't even want to meet him. Except one. And this one just mocks him. Just mocks him. Says, you know what, if you're a liar, I shouldn't be talking with you. And if you're truthful, you're too dangerous, so go. According to some of the books of Sirah, the Prophet ﷺ spent 10 days knocking on every single door in the whole of Taif. Every door. Inviting the people there to Islam. 10 days. Every door. No one embraced Islam. How can you imagine the Prophet ﷺ is feeling? And that's not it. Then when the Prophet ﷺ is leaving, the leaders tell the street urchins, the children, to throw stones at the Prophet ﷺ. And they are pelting him with stones. And the blood is flowing from his head down his body. And it is so much blood that his sandals are sticking to his feet. This is the day the Prophet ﷺ, Aisha asked him, what was your hardest day? He said, this was my hardest day. My hardest day. Subhanallah, his harder than Uhud. Harder than Ibrahim, his little son, dying in his arms when he's 6 months old. His child dies. Harder than being boycotted, harder than the death of Khadija, harder than the death of his uncle Abu Talib. His hardest day, this is his hardest day. Can you imagine? You told me you love Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam more than yourself. That means every single one of us would wish that the Prophet was safe and we were being stoned. That's what it means, brothers. You wish that you were being stoned, not him. That you went through that, not him sallallahu alayhi wasallam. That's what it means. Do you understand what it means? Think about it. Then the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he reaches a garden at the bottom of the mountain. Taif is in the ranges of the mountains. He's down, he goes down, he reaches a garden. Then he takes some rest. And Jibreel alayhi salam, he comes. He says, Ya Muhammad, the angel of the mountain, the angel of the mountains is waiting for your order. Just say it, and the village, the town of Taif will be crushed and everyone will be destroyed. The Prophet ﷺ says, no, don't do that. Maybe some of their children will become Muslim. Do you see what was important to Rasulullah ﷺ? Do you see how much he cared about people coming to Islam? Do you see after all that happened to him, he was just worried maybe their children will become Muslim. Do you see what dawah meant to Rasulullah? Do you see what he was ready to suffer in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to call the people to La ilaha illallah? But you know what, my brothers and sisters, in this country, if you went knocking on the doors of people and someone threw a stone at you, you could call the police and the police would arrest them. But you don't do it. And you told me you love the Prophet more than your business, your mother, your fathers, yourselves. Really? I don't think so. If you love the Prophet ﷺ, you would do what he did. You would love what he loved. You will call to what he called to. You will sacrifice like he sacrificed. That, then we could say you love the Prophet ﷺ. Better not put your hand up. Better just make dua. Oh Allah, please help me to love the Prophet like that. Let me really make Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, oh Allah, let me be like that. Because I don't think we are. I don't think I am. I don't think you are. That's just a claim we make. We know we should be like that. But that's the truth. Let's examine ourselves. Let's get real about ourselves. It's good you have the aspiration, but that's what it is. It's an aspiration. When you're ready to sacrifice, when you're out there calling the people to Islam, when you take the effort to learn how to give dawah, because it's not just about talking whatever comes to your head. No. Number one, you need knowledge. You don't have to be a scholar. You don't have to be an alim. You don't have to, but you do have to know. Just like you make wudu and you learn salah and you learn the rules, you have to learn. What's the right way to give dawah? What's the right thing to say? What's the good way to approach? Yeah, it takes a bit of effort. So my brothers and sisters, if we love the Prophet ﷺ, let us follow his example. We say we believe in the Quran, its guidance. Why don't we follow its guidance? We say the prophets are the best of people. Why don't we follow their examples? You know, this is the hallmark of this ummah. The hallmark of this ummah is we are people who call to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Man ahsanu qawlan mimma da'a ila Allah. Who is better in speech than the one who calls to Allah. وَلَقَدْ بَعَثْنَا فِي كُلِّ أُمَّةٍ. That's not the ayah I'm thinking of. The ayah I'm thinking of is that there arise from you a band of people. وَلْتَكُمْ مِنْكُمْ أُمَّةٌ يَدْعُنَا إِلَى الْخَيْرِ وَيَعْمَرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَيَنْحَوْنَ إِلَى الْمُنْكَرِ وَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ. Let there arise from you a group of people calling to all that is good. They enjoy what is right, they forbid what is wrong, and they are the ones who are going to be successful. They are the muflihun. They are the successful. Don't you want to be one of the successful ones, brothers? Yes or no? Yes. Sisters, yes or no? And we can't hear the sisters, but inshallah they're all saying yes, we do. How are you going to do that? Well, there's many different ways. But that's why we exist. Our organization exists to help you, to help us fulfill our fard, to follow the example of the prophets. How are we going to do that? What are the different ways we can do it? That's what I'm going to pass you on to Muhammad Sayyid. And inshallah he's going to be telling you how you can get involved in IERA, what you can do, how you can help, what practical steps you can take. So I'm going to pass you on to our dear brother Muhammad Sayyid. Jazakallah khair, my dear brothers and sisters. May Allah have mercy upon you. May Allah bless you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.